So in doing that, we're going to have a number of different sessions. And so this will be the first. I would like to tell you a little bit about Gallery Reimagined. We were established in August of 2023, so 2 years. It's a 501c3, and it's to promote artists as well as community engagement. So we're trying to get all of the community engaged with arts as well. Thank you. And we're also focusing on mental health. Another thing is that I tell you a little bit about myself. So I retired as a scientist and then returned to Baltimore. So I'm actually from West Baltimore, born and raised. And decided to start this nonprofit. So there's a lot of things that go in the background with the reasons why I started the nonprofit. Basically, I wanted to do something for the community of Baltimore. And it was a decision between STEM and the arts, and I chose the arts. And one of the biggest reasons why I chose the arts is because all my family members are artists. My father is an artist, he's a musician. And I saw the struggles that the artists go through, and all the barriers and the gatekeeping, everything that takes place with the artists, lack of resources. So Gallery Reimagined was established. Okay, I would love to introduce Larry Poncho Brown. So Larry, I actually met Larry a year and a half ago, even though it seems very
like we've been known
forever. and so we're going to try to make this light, and it's going to be very interactive. So please, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. And we also sent out those index cards for everyone to, if they want to write a question down, you can do that. You can hand it to us, and you can speak it up. Okay, let me tell you about Larry. So he's been in the arts as an artist for over 40 years. Okay, Poncho has built a legacy that reflects the triumph and beauty of Black life through vivid imagery, bold composition, and commitment to community empowerment. Larry Poncho Brown created a series of powerful murals along Park Heights Avenue. I don't know if any of you have taken a look at those murals. And I believe you did this last year.
Yes.
Started last year. He has also helped launch Creatively Black Baltimore, which is located in a harbor. And it was the need for more inclusive artist-led spaces that center Black creativity and entrepreneurship. His contributions include his journey from passionate creator to a full-time professional artist. He also, all of his work is chronicled in his book over there called Retrospective. Is that right? Poncho Retrospective. Okay, in this talk, Poncho will share insights on how to take your art from a personal passion to a thriving business, offering hard-earned wisdom on branding, sustainability, and the mindset shift required to succeed as a professional artist. I'm going to give the floor to Poncho. So I can start talking.
It's hard to
and so I will be engaging with him and asking him questions that he gives his little spiel.
Hi, everybody doing? Thank you for taking the time to come out on this Saturday. I'll start by saying that I gained success as an artist the hard way. If you can recall the Good Times era and the Cosby Show era, the first time we saw anything that was a reasonable depiction of who we are in media, and a whole family in media at two different extremes. And both of those were probably about 10 to 12 years apart. The Good Times era, the work on the show was done by Ernie Barnes. That was the first time I saw an artist that looked like me for my entire life. And my father was an artist artist, and that's the first time he had ever seen an artist depicted in his entire life. Okay, very, very powerful. In between those two eras was the Jeffersons. Norman Lear has some great ideas, but in that show, they didn't even have art depicted. It wasn't about art. It's a lost opportunity until the Cosby Show. All right, when the Cosby Show came out, there were a host of artists, contemporaries, who had their works on the set of the show, which Brenda Joyce Smith, Brian Honeywood, I give you a host of other names that became household names as a result of being on that show. And I came in just in the beginning of it. So most of my peers were 10 to 15 years older than me, but embraced me nonetheless. And it transferred into the biggest art revolution since the Harlem Renaissance. When I say that, there were other Black groups, Afro-Cobra, other movements that came along the way. But that was so pivotal because it was the first time artists were able to go into community, and most of our shows were all over the United States. And then people were so hungry for Black identity that it just caused an explosion that we're still seeing repercussions from even today. And so I was fortunate enough to ride that wave from, say, 1980 on up to 2005 when the economy crashed. And that was just before the internet and other things. When this movement happened, there was no internet. Phones had just came in. And so you can imagine having that kind of impact without that media and what we have available to us today. And one step back, I'll go forward. The Harlem Renaissance, where everybody moved from the South, migrated to the North for better opportunities, and changed the whole perspective of how we were viewed, was also happening concurrently with the Great Depression. So if you think about all that magic that was happening through the worst time in U.S. history, then you understand the importance of these two movements and how they all collide to the point that we're right now. And so the economy crashed in 2005. Everybody knows what happened. It redirected everything. And the art business, while they were talking about the housing market, the financial markets, the auto industry, and other things that all were in jeopardy, one thing they never discussed was the art industry because it crashed too. And so where I was moving around the country and my company was servicing 3,000 galleries across the United States that were buying African American art, we watched that go down below 100 in a real quick amount of time. And so most of us had to recalibrate and pivot. And I was able to do that. Thanks to the internet, I started coming. I embraced it where other people didn't. I saw where the trends were going to change. And here we are today, and we're all benefiting from it. And now we have more active working artists now than any other time in history. And we have more women artists working now than any other time in history. And so with all of those changes, you can imagine we're talking about millions and millions of dollars that are being made for the time. My work, for instance, and I'm only 62, is in 500,000 homes. But it only got in 500,000 homes because of the movement. The movement was really about accessible art and making art accessible to the masses, and particularly with us. So we loved it. If it fit, we bought it. And what happened was because we were brought up in an environment. I was a baby boomer. My dad was a baby boomer. Okay, so we didn't have respect for going to museums. We were taught certain things about art, not touching it, not breaking it. We had all these isms. And so to break into this business and try to understand how those things fit and figure out how I was going to free myself was really my biggest challenge. And so here we are today at a different time where we have the internet. Artists now were separated from their customers. And the art industry as a whole, the artists are in the background, not in the front, and they prefer to be dead than alive. Okay? Now it's totally inverted. Artists now have their own following, and that following, my following is still following me all these years, even if they're not buying art, because it's a lifelong relationship that you build when you do that. And even if the average household holds about 20 pieces, even if they start collecting art, they're still talking about my friends, it's still about my calendars, it's still about my things, and it still comes to my events. And so that relationship can be a very fortifying relationship if you nurture it the right way. At this stage of my career, I'm now trying to help artists understand how that works. Because what also happened in the 90s was they took art out of classrooms, got rid of music, So we're also suffering the result of a generation of people that didn't have any kind of art enrichment, which was very, very powerful, pre-planned, and but art prevails regardless of what you try to do. We are so concerned about erasure right now. Don't worry about it. Art's got that covered already. It's only so much you can bear. And a matter of fact, in the times we live in now, we're going to be blacker than we ever been. I'm watching the young artists now, and they have an intensity and an eagerness with their work that I have not seen in my 46 plus year career. But with that comes some chaos. And so it's time now to try organizations like Katita with the gallery. I work with Black Art Today. Some of you are the Black Art Today Foundation. Some of you are affiliated with it locally. But there are other organizations like that that are now catering to artists. There's an artist advocacy movement happening now that never happened before. And so, and I'll give you a quick example of that. When I was coming through, if I worked with anybody, they wanted half of whatever the arrangement was. Well, it doesn't matter what they wouldn't have. Nowadays, when you work with organizations like this that are art advocacy organizations, the percentage is 70-30, is 6. I mean, it's just the whole business model has changed. The accessibility points have changed, but artists have remained the same. And so our goal is to try to get artists to step up and understand the opportunities that are available to you today in a way that never was at any other time in history. And so I mentor part of, I went to a Carver Vocational Technical High School, for those of you from Baltimore. It's the real Carver, not that one out of town. Where Black businesses, a lot of Black business people in Baltimore went to Carver, Mergenthaler, and a couple other schools. And most of them were able to graduate with a trade and start businesses straight out of high school. That has been destroyed. My school doesn't even have commercial art anymore. Some algorithm stated that commercial art was no longer relevant. Guess what else they said is no longer relevant? Cosmetology. So there's a move now to not only shut down vocational education, there's a move down to shut down all the ways we find a way to be independent. And we don't see it. And we're letting it happen. Okay. Why do I mention those two things? Because if the kids are not getting it from school, and it removed it from school, and they're beginning to shut down everything that does it, where are artists going to get nurtured? But guess what? Artists are going to still do it regardless. Now we fear all these clips that were going to be created as a result of these moves. And I can firmly tell you that it doesn't, this is a spiritual thing. I don't claim credit for what I do. We've been taught completely incorrectly about what art represents. We were taught a Eurocentric view of what art is, and we have a Eurocentric appreciation for art. Sometimes it puts us in a real bougie kind of disconnected position. When you go to Africa, if you've never been, go. Africa is a place where we came from was a place that art had a different meaning. It was utilitarian. It was in every aspect of what everybody did, and it was passed down generation to generation to generation. It's not uncommon for whole villages to have an ability that's been taught and passed down. When we talk about our careers, it's the same thing, but we've not been taught that because we've been stripped from everything. But guess what, y'all? It's in our DNA too. That's why it's not going anywhere. So if you have that ability, I'm not saying we're better than anybody. We're not. We're just different. We feel the world different. That's why we're here. As a matter of fact, we are all given this ability so we won't go crazy and be killing half of y'all on this one. It's therapy, it's redirecting. Every hospital, every scientist will tell you the correlation between being creative and other things, especially when you start talking about the spectrums and all things. We've got categories and subcategories for everything. But the one unifier is that art has been one of those things that has mysteriously survived since the caveman times. And so it's time to stop treating it in a Eurocentric way, embrace it in an Afrocentric kind of way. And now I'm saying, artists, why can't you make a living doing what you do? We've not been taught that. And then people who came through that period, which we now call the golden age of African American art, Those people get it. But then that little break that happened with school and art appreciation and art classes created a almost generation gap of no information. And now people are reignited, but they're not connected anymore. And that's where organizations like hers, organizations like Black Arts Day, artists like myself, and several artists in this room. There's a lot of artists in this room. We're in this new connectivity. We have a new camaraderie. We have a new movement. There's also a band of new curators that are in the room. And they're now giving opportunities. Imagine me being rejected from everything because of the power of my work. Mm-hmm. Because all white jurors were looking for work. And they see something different than what they've been taught. If it's not looking traditional, so I went to Micah, I went to Maryland State College of Art, and I fought from the time I walked in that building to the time I graduated. And most of my fights were because they were trying to deconstruct me from what was coming to me naturally. And I was trying to figure out how that thing worked. And then I realized, okay, Poncho, just follow their rules first. And when you get out of school, I want you to burn all your books. And that's what I did. Yeah. I came out, I decided, let me get the basics first. Let me bite my tongue and bleed down my throat instead of arguing with these people and learn how to art business. And that's what I prided myself on doing all these years. And so my background is a graphic designer. Okay. So imagine a graphic designer doing fine art. Imagine me applying to Micah to go to school, and I have two choices, like the red pill, blue pill. The red pill is one, blue pill is the other, and I have to pick a pill. Both programs cost the same, but one makes me not an artist with the choice, and that's graphic design. Can you imagine that? Mm-hmm. So here I was paying thousands of dollars to be recognized in a way that was discrediting me from the time I gave them my first dollar bill. And really, I had been fighting that my whole career, trying to be relevant in a space with all the different categories that we have. And so some of the stuff you hear me talking about, you're already experiencing, and you didn't understand what it was, okay? So my job now is, in this stage of my career, is to try to answer any question you all have about how to do your forward progression. Do I know everything? No, I don't know everything, but I have taken my life to learn the nuances of African-American art and what you can do with it. And I've seen people do fantastic things. I've seen people do powerful things, but it is so free to be able to grasp onto this thing that everybody else complicates. Okay. So that's my foundation, and that's why I'm doing the work. I've been fortunate enough and threatened by my high school teacher, Mr. Chanel Alford. He's in my spirit. Without him, I wouldn't be here. Chanel Alford made me do so many things. This man had me reading books by Ivan Van Sertima when I was 14. This man was the first person to look me in my face and say, hey, Jesus put him in white. And I was like, what's wrong with this man? And then one day he looked at me and he says, you're a son of kings. I said, this man. Mind you, he was 6'5" already with a 6-inch afro. So what was I going to say? Okay, but he changed my whole life because he had me doing. They started going into my work because of those conversations and that re-indoctrination, that re-education. Because I had the same cliff notes y'all had in Black history, you know. And even through high school, I never knew too many names of Black artists. That didn't happen till when I got out of Maryland Institute. They weren't talking about Charles White. They weren't talking about some of the masters that we had. They were talking about Jacob Fox, you know. And now the world has changed. Now everybody recognizes those people. So that's the foundation. That's why I'm here. And I'm hoping that you guys will, and excuse my thing. I apologize in advance if I offend anybody. I am not with the pronoun movement. So when I say you guys, I ain't trying to insult nobody. All right? I want to put that up front. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you some things that I see. I see mad talent, mad unfiltered talent, but talent won't make you successful because it's just a spiritual thing. It's easy for your ego to interject in between that energy and misconstrue some things. And I've seen a lot of that happening now with the movement. Artists were more humble than they are now. Artists are braver now than they've ever been, but they're more ignorant to the terrain than they were then. And so I see some things happening that cause issues. For instance, all artists have always had a problem pricing their work. Now artists are grasping that quicker, but they're now overcharging for it. So they'll go to a show, and because they're with a network of 11 artists, and one artist is doing really, really well, they look at Rascal's working and say, okay, Rascal's getting $3,000. Poncho's getting $3,000 too, so maybe mine should be $3,000. No, Rascal's been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for 40 years. They've been doing it for 2 years. But as you see, how that can cause a conflict, because they still have to sell. Okay? And the artists still have to be validated by sale as well. See, I came through a time where artists almost seemed ashamed to even price their work or sell their work. Well, that doesn't happen anymore now. People see what's available and they're trying to take advantage of it. They're trying to figure it out. The power of this movement today is that you can have a collector at your disposal at any minute. You can launch a website and now be global. See, when I started in this, it was a regional business, and everything everybody did was regional. Now it's no longer regional. And so if you go into your business now thinking regional, you've already crippled yourself, because it's no longer that. People can see your stuff all over the world in the drop of a hat. And so I don't want to get too deep into this. I wanted to set it up so you can understand where I'm coming from. But now at this point, I want to have some, because some of the things you're thinking, other people are thinking. And we're now afraid to be embarrassed, so we don't say certain things. I hate the term safe space, but that's what this is. You know, to raise any question you have about your creativity and what the next step is. If you don't have a question, then it's just an example of what's happening with us now. We're not sharing enough information. Artists now want to share this information. I have other artists that I wrote with that are colleagues of mine, and each one of them are trying to do a pay it forward, re-educate people kind of a movement, just like what I'm doing. So this, what I'm doing is not unique. I'm just doing it in a Baltimore East Coast kind of way. I believe in telling you the truth. I'm not here to sugarcoat nothing for you. If you got thin feelings and thin skin, go get your plate of food and go home. Because that's not what this is about. My job is to demystify things you're dealing with. So if you're not going to be honest with me with your questions, then you're wasting your time and my time. Because some of the stuff it's not rocket science. It's not complicated. And I want to give you another perspective, really, on how you approach what you do. So we can start with the questions.
So can I just ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So you spoke about being able to ride those years, those difficult years.
Yes.
In 2005 and so forth. So can you tell a little bit of details of what you did to get through those years? Yeah.
Some questions.
Oh, yes.
That's a very good question. Because a lot of artists fear, like the climate we're in, they're fearing this climate. And we had that big crash. That was a fearful climate. We had COVID. That was a fearful climate. So the country and the world is going to do like this. And that still doesn't take away from what we got to do. We're still going to be great regardless. But it does make it more challenging for you to promote what you do. For instance, during COVID, everybody thought the world was going to end. And it didn't, because everybody was home for the first time. Sometimes now couples were home for the first time. Their kids were home in one house. They got to fix the house up. They didn't lose no money. Nobody ran out of food. So they said, let's fix up. And I made more money during COVID than I made the 10 years prior. Going online, doing live programs from my studio. Can you imagine sitting in your studio with your underwear on, showing some artwork and making $1,000 a show? Can you imagine bumping around in the studio and making $10,000 on one show for an hour? That's the concentration of energy that's happening. And it's a different time. Now, Of course, we got to contend with other things, and the more artists doing this, the more competitive it's going to be. But the rules are basically the same. There are a lot of things we're not doing. We're not connecting. We're not doing enough on social networking. Artists, we're so introverted, isolated. We don't want to do half that stuff anymore. I'm saying that I have to get out of my comfort zone and do those things. So when the internet was coming, I embraced it. AI is coming, I embraced it. What do I do when the economy is getting tight? I get in people's face, ask them for stuff. You know, one thing I learned as a sign painter, that's what I went to carve for, is the art of going to someone and making them understand what your needs are. And so the young Baltimore Poncho used to walk past the storefront and go to inside and talk to the owner and say, hey man, I can't read that sign, but I can send somebody here tomorrow and they can fix that for you. And they would say, okay, how much is it gonna cost? And I said, oh well, man, I need that. I probably need that done for like $100. They say, come back the next day, and I will come with my paintbrushes and knock it out before they open the store. Sometimes they didn't want to pay me. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I learned how to push and get myself in front of people, not worrying about the rejection of people. And I had a big fire in my studio in 1995. It was another turning point for me. And guy asked me what was the one thing I missed from that fire. And that was my book of rejection letters. I had a binder of rejection letters, all the things I tried to do. Because I believe for every rejection, you get closer to what? See, we're so caught up in the lose column that we don't know that each one you know that you're getting so close to that breakthrough. A lot of you right now are feeling like something's big coming, but I don't know what it is. That's what it is. When you put the time in, it's going to prevail. You just got to open your spirit enough to engage. The biggest thing I see now through times like what she's talking about is that when times get tough, you have to press the gas pedal. You can't hit the brake. If you press the gas pedal, you won't make it. And that's really what's happening with everybody now because we're thinking 10 times more than I had to think. We got phones in our hand that's feeding us information, whether we want it or not, whether it's true or not, all day long. And no matter how non-social you think you are, if you got that phone in your hand, you're still partially social. And you're still being affected by the energies coming through that phone. And if you're not conscious of that, that is going to distract you. If you are a creative person, it's the polar opposite of how we are wired. And so that can also create other issues.
Yes, you did. There's a question here. How to manage the difference between fine art and commercial art? Could it still be valuable to sell merchandise?
Absolutely. There's two sides to the business. Every artist is confused about this. There's the fine art business, the BMA, the Walters, Gresham Lewis, and then there's a commercial side of the business, and that's retail galleries. There's UB Blake. There's the Frederick Douglass Myers. There's any retail gallery that's in your neighborhood. That is the commercial side of the business. The movement that I told you was a explosion was a commercial movement. It was not a fine art movement. Okay, so the fine art establishment they want control. What do they promote? Famous dead artists, mostly men. Y'all know that 90% of what's in the museums are about men. Even today. And so that's the paradigm. So I see artists and have witnessed artists desire being in that movement my entire life and couldn't understand why. I mean, when I see Elizabeth Catlett making the money she's supposed to be making from her work, maybe I'll think about it. If I see more African Americans making it through the gateway, then I'll think about it. Because only a few of us get through at a time. If you can tell me the few artists that just got through the gate, you got Kehinde Wiley, you got Amy Sherrill, I can give you artists that are now living that are able to take advantage of that. But when you look at the percentage of people that get through, it's very, very slim. On the commercial market, you don't have to deal with any of that. That means you can control all aspects of what you're doing. But with that comes a cost. Because I was my own representative, I did my own publishing, I had my own publishing company. There were times when I was in a conflict with some people I was working with. I'll give you an example. If I'm working with a distributor and I'm working with a gallery and I'm an artist, that's 3 levels of people I have to appease. If I'm controlling all of that, 2 of them are going to hate me. Mm-hmm. And they have to decide whether they want to support me or not support me. And some of them, to try to control me, will not support me. But then I know for every person that doesn't support me, I'm going to get 2 that do. I also was very skeptical. So for the first 10 years of my distribution company, they thought I was an employee. I would show up at trade shows, set up, and the people would be asking me, hey, look, when is the boss coming by? And I would say, he's going to be by tomorrow. I think he's coming the last day. And they were ordering from my company. It took them 3 years to figure out it was me. At that point, they had to figure out whether they want to continue or not. And because of it, what do you think they did? They had to. But that just means I have people that want to support me. And that's the biggest thing with being a commercially successful artist. If you decide you want that thing, I'm not saying one's better than the other because it's suited for people. Okay. But if you're already doing your own website and you're doing little shows in your neighborhood and restaurants got your stuff and you got underwear and phone covers and all kinds of stuff with your art on it, they're not interested in you. If you're buying your stuff from Blit, off the shelf, 3 canvases for $100, they don't want you. The Fine Artist Gallery has a different structure. The artwork is different, the scale is different, the materials are different, and how the business is run is different. You are behind the scenes on the fine art market, not in front. In this market, you're in front. There are artists that are literally rock stars on the commercial side of the business, but a gallery won't touch them. And do you think they can? No, and neither should you. You got to figure out what gang you belong to, buy the right color jacket, and do your work. And then sometimes, if you raise enough hell, some of those galleries come knocking. Some of those museums start knocking. And I've had museums call me, and I was like, wow, okay, let's do what we got to do. I'm glad I stuck to what my vision was. And I think that if anything, I tell you all to trust your vision.
So can you tell me, I'm just interested in the difference or the challenges that women are having? Like, is there a certain mindset that women have, or is it something that the industry sees?
It's multi-layered. It's multi-layered. We got to look historically at things. Men have more opportunities and always had more opportunities. They always got more. They always made more money. It was never fair. Representation wasn't there. So now here we go. We're going through this period where everybody wants equality, equity, and inclusion, and so that's tapering out. Now you see more women doing more things, but all that affects is the microcosm of what's happening in our business. This is something I want to bring to your attention now. There's something happening right now with sisters and how they support one another that also shows up in artists. So they're with each other. They're competitive with each other. They're not really supporting each other. It's not a real sisterhood yet. I'm waiting for that moment for the sisterhood to happen. I see some people that are forming sisterhoods. See, guys, we be one-dimensional. We just blend. We don't have that same problem. And if I don't like you, then the only thing I can do is I'll paint you. I'm not going to trip with nothing else. It's more complicated. So women have a big challenge because the industry is not going to take you seriously. You got to be super talented. You have to, but waiting for them to validate you, you'll be dead before they validate you. So you have to validate yourself. And I say that because I had to do the same thing in my approach. I could have easily just given up, but no, I realized that I have a following of people that's going to support my work, and you got to realize you got a following, and then you can decide whether you want to do this alone. I ain't gonna be mad at you. I don't see artists banding together. The biggest thing I see is artists not even mentoring other artists. So yes, you know what problems men and women have in our society now, what relationship challenges we're going through right now, and women are more educated than most. Black women are more educated than most women in the world right now in the United States. Okay, so they got that. They got their own money. They got they know how to handle their business. You would think that combination would make you a beast. It does not make you a beast. And sometimes it could make you a threat. And so you put all that together with your talent. You still have to have a vision of what you want to do rather than trying to adapt to what you might see. And that's a challenge. That's the hard part. But until you really realize that the things you already know that's not working in our community, then you're going to have a harder battle. You see, I don't have problems working with women. As a matter of fact, with me, I've always made sure women were represented in any project I do. For every 5 guys I got, there's going to be 5 women. If I got to scrape them off the corner, I would do that. But now women are ready. They're ready. When I go to shows now and I go to receptions now, there are more women artists than there are men artists. Men artists just, they're in their studios working now. And there's an entertainment element to this now, and a social element to this now that's making everything more confusing.
Can we go back to pricing?
Yes.
And so, as far as, so I can understand when you said that, yes, you're comparing, an emerging artist may be comparing their price to established career, but how should they price their work? I mean, is there a specific type, I don't know, strategy that you should use when you're pricing your work?
That is an age-old question that everybody's confused about, and every artist is confused about it, and every dealer who has to deal with an artist is confused about it. What I will say is there's no one formula. I have Poncho's formula because I tend to be more common sense. This is my example. If you have a piece that you finished, artist, you already kind of in your gut, not brain, gut, know how much money you would accept for that piece. Okay? So you kind of know down here what it costs. Not in here. This is where you get in trouble. So you take that price, whatever it is, if it was $400, and if you got to divide that 50% for the dealer, then it should be how much? Thank you. And then you live with it. Don't put yourself, oh, maybe I ain't had it sold at not. No. If your gut told you, because that's your intuition too, told you that's what it was worth, that's the formula you use the rest of your career. Now, when you sell that piece for $800 a couple times, or $400 a couple times, and you hear somebody say something like, I thought it would be more expensive, or you start seeing people line up for that, then that's your cue that maybe I need to go up. So then I take that same equation, that stomach equation, times 2, then times 3. And then when you're really confident, then you can just do it times 4. And you'll still be in your range, not Poncho's range, not Erasco's range, your range. And then you develop that slowly. And then you look at other artwork. See, artists are not going to museums and seeing nothing no more. They're not going to museums no more. I don't even know how you do that. They're going to to galleries now, and they're seeing a lot of stuff, and they're so confused, and they're so overwhelmed and excited at the same time, and they're making mistakes, and they're just trying to learn like a sponge, but they're just seeing the wrong stuff. And so you got to start somewhere. I say start with your spirit first. Your spirit ain't gonna lie to you. You just got to get out of your way, because you'll keep doubting yourself. And guess who's going to doubt himself more if it was a man artist versus a woman artist? Excuse me? The women. I did a radio show for 2 years where I interviewed women artists and male artists, and most of the women artists didn't realize they were artists till their kids were grown. They thought they were a crafts person, or they had never heard the word artist used with them. They didn't even interpret themselves as being an artist. And then when I told them they were artists, they were like, oh wow, is that what that is? One of my close friends in this room, she knows who she is. We had her ride in a van, and she didn't know she was an artist. Now she's one of the top 10 women artists in the country. But it took that epiphany for her to be able to realize where she's going to start. And so we're afraid to use that word. And that's the Eurocentric thing too. You know, if you got the ability, just go and use it and spread it. Yes. Okay, so pricing is a simple thing. That formula works. I've watched people use it. Try it and see if it works for you.
Okay, so this is a more specific question of pricing. As a photographer, how does they decide how to price a piece, especially when the piece can be replicated?
Photography is an interesting art form right now, particularly when I was in school. My minor in school was photography, graphic design, and photography. And I tell you, I never had a problem trying to figure out how I was going to sell my art, but had no idea how I was going to sell my photography. And now it's even more confusing because everybody got one of these in their hands, and they can shoot 1,000 pictures with their thumb, not making a mistake. And so, but it still comes down to that thing. That same thing I just told you works for that too. Reputation should not affect you and confuse what your value is. A lot of you are having a value issue because you don't value yourself. And the women don't do it as much as the guys. The guys will say, okay, I don't care what people think, this is where I'm worth. Women will go, and they'll say, I don't know. And you priced it for me. I've heard so many things that, and it's sad for me to see it. So normally when I see it, I correct it as fast as I can. I don't see dealers correcting that with the artists that they're working with. I don't see curators dealing with that stuff because everybody expects you to kind of know your value when they start working with you. Mm-hmm. And so if you're confused, who's going to be confused? The whole train's going to be confused. And so the first thing you got to do is sit down and assess where your stuff is in the value. I think once you get that, your confidence will help you. And I'm going to tell you what pricing, the first thing you should do is start a spreadsheet of everything you create. Just start penciling on a spreadsheet and use the sum total lane to see what the value of it is. And once you start doing that, it's going to make you be organized. You shift it from right brain to left brain, and you'll see a number that is going to make you respect your value immediately. Because most of you are confused because you're not being organized. You're thinking it out, you're looking to your left, and you're looking to your right, and you're making assessments. But you're not looking at research. You Google something stupid, but you won't Google what the average price for an original is. I don't understand it. You got the thing right in your hand and won't use it. So some of the stuff now, AI will find it for you. You can put in right now what is the average price of an original mixed media piece that's 8.5 by 11 and see what AI will give you. Research. Go to galleries and see what people are going. Talk to a gallerist and say, hey, look, what's the average price of what a piece will cost? And she'll tell you her range. But if you're asking dealers, you already know. And so some of that confusion is coming because you won't do the research and you're not getting out enough to compare your prices with other people.
Well, do you change or alter your price based on the community that you serve?
No. When you come up with a price, that's your price. The thing about the internet is you never know who's seeing it. So if you were at a gallery last week and it was $350 and all of a sudden down the street it was $850, your credibility shot. And if a collector bought something for you for $850 and he found out you sold one down the street for $350, that credibility is shot. So you got to make sure when you value yourself, when I say again, when you don't value yourself, everything else is out of kilter. I'd rather be wrong. You know, I'd rather have a number than not have a number. The one I can't stand is the one that don't know. I don't get you. Please wake up soon. But the one who overcharges, I still have more respect for them than the one that don't have a value. At least the one that's overcharging, they're gonna learn because nobody's gonna buy it. But the one that's not gonna get it, imagine how many years it would take and what place you're in to downgrade yourself like that, where you can go to the store and spend anything in your house and not have a problem. But when it comes to your stuff, all of a sudden, it's just the weirdest thing. Why is that?
Does anyone have a question about pricing?
Yes.
Tell me about how you approach a painting that was done X numbers of years ago, like more than 10 years ago, and you try to sell them. It was priced then. What happened?
What is the one rule of art? It does what? Appreciate. So that is the hidden secret to the art business. And that secret is like a lot of power. So if something was priced 10 years ago, you still have to predict what you think it would be worth. If you got a worth issue, you're not going to be able to figure it out. The worst thing I see is artists charge the same thing for 10 years in a row. Okay. Don't let an appraiser pick your value, because now you contribute to the appraiser if you got your value right. Okay. I've even done things where I had pieces that were in my personal estate. I had it not documented anywhere We got a Morgan at the house, so I can at least say that. I did a show at Morgan. They gave me some paperwork to document the value of the pieces that I had at that point were at a price point that I wasn't satisfied with, but I made sure when I had it documented on paper that I would use it as my new baseline. So a lot of us get opportunities to increase the value of our work, but we don't use it. When you do your invoicing, when you do your, because this is the consignment business, when you do that spreadsheet, that you can go back to that spreadsheet once a year and add $200, $300, and don't think about it, you just do it. Okay, get past the pricing thing, you have to really work and talk and see it, and then see it work. Because when you go into a gallery and it's priced right, and you're explaining it to people, and people see it, they can understand when you're uncomfortable. Sometimes your uncomfortable spirit stops to say. Sometimes your unworthiness stops to say. Energy, this is all about energy, y'all. Now, sometimes your confidence can ruin us. I say, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes you got to realize when to get out of the way and let folks use their spirit, not all your spirit. So I hope that helps, but that is the biggest thing with pricing. And that applies to anything, not just art. But appreciation, that's determined by your value first. If you, like, for instance, your husband has works that were at a certain price before he passed, all of those pieces were probably double or triple. But you're a person, because you hold the estate, you can price them wherever you want. The industry has to match what you want. And then when you get an appraisal person, they have to come in and they don't have to ask other people to find out that value. They're going to come to you first. Nowadays, when an appraisal person wants to figure out value, what do you think they do first? You think they got volumes that they go to and look it up?
No.
Google, name, artist, size, price, all the stuff shows up. They look at the highest, they look at the lowest, they keep pecking. They have a formula of how their work appreciate over time, and that's how they predict that value. Now, if a white appraiser tried to look at African American art and appraise it, and a black appraiser appraised it, black appraiser is going to have a better price. Okay. So you got to understand that this is all speculative value. So if you don't have your value right, how does anybody else?
It almost sounds like you're paying somebody to tell you, to ask you what the
It's
price.
exactly what it is. Because it's not a written science. There's no book you can go to right now to give you the value of Elizabeth Catler's work. You know who is the master of that whole domain? The fine art museums. That's why you never see a price tag in a museum. They do that stuff behind the board. You look at the Mona Lisa, have no idea how much the Mona Lisa costs. And then you don't know how much the rest of the art in the Louvre costs. And you don't ask yourself, did they buy it? Did they steal it? Did they whatever? Because now we find another mixture of all of it. Oh, but we're afraid to price our stuff. Get over it, y'all. The world is not afraid. We shouldn't be afraid.
Okay, this is the interesting question.
Yes.
What is the median income of an African American visual artist in the DMV?
It is not hard for okay, this is something, that's a lot of oomph in the room. Okay, so there's two types of artists in here. You're either full-time or you're part-time. Part-time artists have it easier right now because they got something they can fall back on, and they can treat their artwork like as supplemental income, whereas full-time artists is all or none, this is everything. I've been that way my whole life. So it's like, it's not a science. Ask the question one more time.
Okay, here we go.
It's not a science. Go ahead.
What is the median income?
The median income for artists. Thank you for that moment.
African American.
The median income from an African American artist can be whatever you want it to be. It is not hard for an African American artist to make $100,000. It's not hard for an African American artist to make what people call a $20,000 to $40,000 a year. Matter of fact, if you're not doing $20,000 a year, it's because you don't want to do $20,000 a year. You can start at any point. I don't care if it was $5,000 a year. Suppose you're making $5,000 last year and your work was price whack, and you decide to sit down with your spreadsheet and double your prices so you don't get stiff the next year, and you sell everything. You just moved your income up just by your spreadsheet, not by the value. Isn't that something? So this, you hear me stumbling because values dictated by what people want to pay. It's not a rule. None of it's a rule. But at some point, there's a relative thing you should be looking at. And so everybody wants a guarantee. You're only gonna make what you put in. If you're looking to make a living from your art and you're not putting in the time, then I can give you any number on the spectrum. But I can tell you one of my artist friends was working with a Boeing, and he watched his art sales go beyond what he was making at Boeing for 6-figure salary. And he went on to become one of the first 7-figure artists I met and left his job to do his artwork. His name is Charles Bibbs. I can tell you many artists that were in that same equation that looked laterally and said, okay, this is what I'm doing. So for those of you that are out there, that you have a full-time job and you feel like you want to leave it, don't. Don't. Let the number dictate the move. Because you're going to be watching the full-time artists, you're going to be saying they have too much fun over there and that the money's flowing, and then you're going to be thirsty, hungry, and starving, and nervous, and not sleeping. Because the bravest people are full-time artists. This is not needed by anybody. When the economy gets tough, this is the first thing people cut. Artists always know when the economy is weird. Okay? So you just take advantage of what you have available.
Anyone in the audience?
I hope I answered that question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So I remember when you mentioned that when you first started working with technology, how many years you're like working. And I remember that little story everybody probably heard about. So like drawing a napkin, and I was like, where are you gonna charge me $500? Like, it's not because that took me 5 minutes to draw, but because of the experience that it took me to get here. So, and I'm just saying from my personal perspective, because technically I feel like I haven't been in the art game until after I like graduated. So should I be thinking of like my credential and not necessarily my experience before school, or like I guess both? Because I'm technically
Your art life started after school. It's not, school has nothing to do with your art life.
okay.
That's a matter of fact, most of your portfolio was assignments from school. So your art life starts when you leave school and you have to practically apply that. That's when your clock starts, after you leave school. And for those of you that claim that you're self-taught, which is another whole conversation, we'll get to that later when y'all ask the question. You build momentum. This is the momentum in a you collect your, it's like you build a momentum over time. And you can set your own pace. And you just want it to be a decent pace because it's going to continue to move and grow like a train going down the track. You just don't want it to be sporadic. You don't want it to be weak. You don't want it to be derailed. Okay? So no, I just say stay focused. If you say you just graduated, you just, okay, so what does that portfolio look like now? Because now it should be clearly different than school. And if you're looking at your personal portfolio, it's already better than school anyway. Because now you're not influenced by your students, you're not influenced by your teachers, now you're more into yourself. My career didn't truly start till after I got out of my career, because I was now painting what I wanted to paint, whether I sold it or didn't sell it. And then something weird happened. People started buying it, so I started working to a piece. Then that's another stage you go through. But then you're still in an imitation stage. So now you're trying to figure out who you are. But the value still increases over time. People don't know that. You and I know that. But just keep working. And everything you have has a value. I just said that they create one thing or they get a body of work 10 years later and the stuff suddenly before that becomes trash. You don't even value it anymore. Now I value all of it. If I could go back to my old sketches from college and put a $50 price tag on it, I would. Everything you have innately has a value. And somebody will still see it as valuable. So you can't be careful not to kid yourself. That's all. You got all artists have more art than they think they have.
You made a statement.
Yes.
That I really would like to hear you just let us know what we should be doing.
Yes, ma'am.
In that space.
Mhm.
You said that they are removing many of the art in schools, and art. There's no more art in where people do wood shop, all of the things to allow our young people to express their art early in life, which they have already in them. And you can tell even from a 4-year-old that's drawing a picture, whether that's a great artist in bloom right there. And you said we're watching it happen and not doing anything.
Right.
What can, and this is the first part of the question, artists do to nurture or make sure that these things don't happen?
Artists don't have any control over it. All artists can do is just create.
It's just continue
See,
to
it's
create.
everybody else's opinion that affect artists. See,
But why should we allow anyone else's opinion? And this is what my husband and I have this discussion. I don't see any leader, anything that can shape my opinion or my gut on anything. That's your thing, and I'm not gonna allow you to affect what I do tomorrow or any other day, taking fear out of all of that and just focusing on faith. And when you said that, oh my goodness, I almost jumped off this chair, because that's where it starts.
it starts a lot of ways. We're talking about parenting too. Okay, if your child, if your parents told you art wasn't real and was the real thing to do, and some of us in this room went through that, and then you have a child who's on the floor drawing, what are you going to do? Are you going to listen to what your mama said and your daddy said? Or are you going to look at that and figure out how you're going to deal with your child? In my case, I'm a second generation artist. My father was a frustrated artist. He had no outlets. Born in 1945. There was no outlets for him in the 60s and 70s. His son was born. He was a frustrated artist. He didn't know how to nurture me into doing art. Didn't know what to say, didn't know what to provide. You'd think it would be simple, but it wasn't. I had a son. So I'm like, I would do all this stuff. I don't want him to go through that. So I'm not going to make this you. And so there were many developmental years that I missed with my son because I didn't say something. Now he waited till he got to 30 and go, you know what, Dad, I think I should be an artist. So at some point it starts with who you are as a parent, who you are as a grandparent. Like most of y'all will go out and buy a Nintendo system for the TV set, but you won't buy a pack of paper.
Or Legos.
It don't matter what it is. You see all the stuff that's been stored. You don't believe me? Go to Blick down the street. We got 4 art supply stores in Baltimore City. Some places don't have one. Go to one of the art supply stores and tell me what the problem is. We have displaced priorities. I said it doesn't matter whether you say something. You still got to provide something. Because even if you as a grandparent don't want to give them the wrong impression, when you give them paper, they're going to remember that for the rest of their life. And then when they start telling people how they got started, grandma's going to be the one that remember. See, my mother used to hang my papers inside the refrigerator and outside the refrigerator. With all those times where my dad wasn't supportive of what I was doing. But guess what? Once my father saw me doing what I was doing, because sometimes you got to shut it down to do work, he became my biggest cheerleader. If I had a show within 6 hours, that man would drive to it. And so we have plenty of times where we can reshape what that's going to be, but we get so clouded with what is value. What do you do when your child's doing or their child's doing? Everybody wants to feel a responsibility of what we should do. What we should do is, first of all, just work and get out of the way of folks that's working. And then rather than asking dumb questions, if she's sewing something, get her some thread, even if she can't use it. People say, Poncho, I don't even know what to buy. Go to the damn art supply store, buy anything. It can be cheap, it can be expensive, I can use it. We don't think like that. If the photography is doing photography, there's a lot of things you can get in photography because there's stuff way out in 5 minutes. And everything is affordable. That's the part that gets me. So we have to change our own comfort zone to see that change.
Okay, actually, there was okay, go, please.
Yes, sir.
What can we do to counter what does and does not happen in the school system? My example is, at one time, all cities around the United States had schools were generating horn sections, horn bays. I mean, that was brass construction. And now that's all dispute. I mean, there've been some evolutions in, scratching and other electronic stuff, but we still need to go back to those kinds of things.
Going back and it being part of your journey is two different things. You can't embrace jazz even if you don't have art in schools. Okay, so it's still happening, it's still evolving. That's the part I want you guys to get, is that while we're trying to come up with rules, regulations, and ways to work things out, there's a natural order of creativity that happens, and most of it that's required is to get the hell out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to get out the hell out of the way of the creative person,
Right.
but get the hell out of the way of yourself.
Yeah.
If you admire it, then support it. If you don't admire it, good. Voice it. I want to know you. Want to know people. Don't be quiet and look at my stuff and you don't want to be here. See, there are people that are not interested in art. They're not here, y'all. They're outside doing something else and they have no intention on showing up. You guys that say I can't draw a straight figure are using right brain just by being here. Your interest, all collectors are using right brain energy when they're looking at artwork. So you got to realize who your clan is. Your clan is right brain folk. It don't matter whether they can draw or not draw, see, not see. It's simpler than we build it up to be. We've been taught to complicate everything up rather than to simplify it down to what is real. And art is one of those things you don't have to over discuss. And it's also one of those things that when you repeat, you get better and better and better. And the more you see, the more comes out. It's a natural thing. If I locked you into a cave and came back 5 years later, you would not be in the same place. It's impossible. It's not how it works. It's the white noise that slows everything down. By the time we start adding that introduction of religion, we could add everything in the pile. They have nothing to do with creativity, because creativity is the moment an artist takes their tool and touches that thing, they're no longer thinking. It's as spiritual as you're ever going to get. And we have no idea what the journey is. It's like time travel. We wake up and go, oh shit, this is about the morning. Y'all know why artists don't respect time? They don't. Oh, they think we are weird. But look at who we are. Introspective, introverted, isolated. I give you a whole list of things that most artists share. I'm going to tell you another one they're not going to tell you. Because when you have those things, depression is your shadow. And so how do you keep depression from those things overlapping? You make sure you keep doing that thing that God gave you. That's why He gave it to you anyway, to keep you balanced. When you stop doing it, everything is going to be in disarray. So I want artists to understand first, that's what your job is. It's not selling and who's this and who's that and what's that. No, it's like if you ain't getting your favorite, we're not really having a conversation. But if you say you want to make a career out of this, that's another whole uniform in half. And just be prepared to switch it, because you will need to endure all the twists and turns that will come with trying to get people to respect what you're doing. And the one thing I think I've earned in this career is that people respect me. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that you brought forth when you were what people should be doing and listening to others and all the things. For me, it is inspiration. I think, like if we're trying to guide our children, then we inspire them. But you don't have to call it that. You don't have to call it anything. You take them to this. You take them to that. You expose them, and they'll find their way through that. But in regard to that, when I think about older people, a lot of people will say, "I don't understand art," and that's not complicated either, because in the dominant culture, they would have you believe that story that you don't understand art. But if you look at it and you have an opinion of it, then you understand it.
Well, again, we're confused because which indoctrination is that? Is that a European aesthetic? Is that an Afrocentric aesthetic? Which one is? Because we're actually a mixture of the two. Right. And you got to sort it out first. And I tend to go.
Our elders, I'll say that it happened to me.
Absolutely.
That my elders say you can't make $1 off of that, so go another direction. But also, that's a European thought that was put on them, and then they.
Understand that there are literally 4 generations of working artists right now. You're talking about from 18 to all the way up to 85. And so each one of them were indoctrinated different. My concern is not so much the ones that have been here before that had to go through the baby boom thing in that next generation, because most of us get it. Okay, because we were taught certain things during that period of time. Now some of that's eroded. And so the younger artists have a more difficult time. And the younger parents have the kids now are born with a phone in their hand. They have the sensibilities that we didn't have. And so we just got to figure a way to bridge the divide between the two. It's basically the same though. We still got to do the work. We still got to get people to respect the work. We still need places to show the work. We still want to sell the work. Some of the stuff is the same. It's just a more complicated journey than ever before now. But I'm saying you don't need school. You don't need classes. It's going to continue whether we want it to or not. Now, if you are a steward of what you see, and that's basically what the saying here, and you're responsible for what you see, then you don't let it sit like that. You know, we have an obligation to, like, this woman right here has 2 children that are painting right now, and they painting better than I was painting when I was their age, and they just having fun. And she know what to do. Okay. But that's an extreme situation. We all have the opportunity with our grandkids and our kids. We can even have that impact on our kids. See, now I know what to give my son. Now that he finally decided that's what he wants to do. And when I figured that out, it's like he's on his own path. So that's our biggest problem. And that's something we're gonna have to continue to keep feeding, because the new generations are coming with less. And the job is becoming more and more difficult.
That's confidence.
The more white noise there is, and the depression.
I have a question.
Yes.
It was really insightful to hear you talk about spreadsheets and kind of tracking your value.
Yes.
Thinking about tangible ways to dictate your value and also operate a business from a professional and career standpoint.
Yes, sir.
I'm also curious as to like other things you would advise artists or professional working artists, steps towards building a tangible professional practice, thinking about like for tax purposes or business status and tangible things like that that are in the line of spreadsheets and tracking your value and being able to develop a what's this word called? A professional language around how you're working outside of just creating.
What I'll say to you is that everything you said to me is required for a business, period. It's not just about art. So let's just talk about from a business perspective.
Yes.
Taxes is real life. And most of the mistakes I've seen with the creative realm is taxes. And I've even had those struggles myself. I'm being transparent. There is a left brain, right brain activation. That's what I want to start with. So if you're creating your right brain activation, we all both have both sides of the brain. Okay. But now artists have to train themselves to use that left side of the brain. And that's where taking the time to do a spreadsheet forces you to go from this side of your brain to the other side of the brain. The more you know about your business, the better you're going to be. Spreadsheets, if you don't know how to do Excel, get yourself 2 composition books like you had in school, and have one book that's got expenses and one where you made your money, and then take them and give them to your account. If you're doing art right now, you should have a shoebox full of receipts of everything you bought that related to your art. If you make money, that money should be going somewhere where you can track it and not even general living. If you are an artist that's working full time and you're doing art part time, your art stuff should be going in a separate account so you won't have to touch it and do other things, but it can nurture. If you're a full-time artist, same thing, because we tend to live off of all of to do everything, you still should have it separated. So you get what I'm saying? Left brain, right brain. Yeah, there's a such thing as investing. I've never looked at investing. I never did real estate. I wish I had done all that stuff when I was younger. But now we're living in a time when you can partake in those other things. Artists don't have to be one thing anymore. See, when I came through, they prided everything on you being one way or specialists in one area. when now everybody has evolved now to being a small media company. This is a media company. You have to do video. You have to do multimedia. You have to do public speaking. You got to do everything now. And so all I'm saying is recognize that you're already doing some of that stuff. Don't feel like you have mounds of other things to do. But if you're not tracking your expenses and how much you're making, that's the first step. That spreadsheet I told you about is going to be your saving grace, because that becomes your personal life. That's like all I have. And then when I do new pieces, I'm going to keep this list going for the rest of my life. And you'll be surprised how organized you become just by that spreadsheet. If you don't know how to do Excel, please load Excel on your computer and use it. You can take a free class in the library. Right now, most of these programs will show you how to do it. It's got a question mark spot. You put the question mark, you start laying things down. Hey, if you don't push yourself out your comfort zone, or you limit yourself by what you don't know, you will never get there, and nobody's going to help you there. I'm saying that's what you need to do. And I hear you already doing it, but I want you to be aware not to overthink.
And don't be afraid of fellowships and scholarships and grants. Don't be afraid, if you are a great artist, to write a grant. Okay, look and see who's supporting it, and you write a grant around everything you need, and go
While
ahead.
she's saying that, I'm going to interrupt her.
Okay.
Because everything I'm saying doesn't rely on grants. What are they cutting right now? I'm talking to them.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What are they cutting right now?
Grants.
Major art agencies now are having their grants cut.
Yeah.
Okay? The stuff you're talking about is more important than a grant. Okay? A grant is another opportunity. You can choose to participate in that or not. I had to wait to become 60 years old for folks to start accepting my applications for grants. So I never had to rely on them. But I can tell you how to do crowdfunding. Crowdfunding paid for my book. I had $34,000 of stuff from my collectors that paid for my book. If I had waited for a museum to do a book on Poncho, my bones would have dust by now. So let me cut you off. I am here to answer their questions, because we get white noise like that all the time. And I'm trying to demystify it. This brother asked a very valuable question that all artists are trying to figure out how to do the business side and to be more disciplined with the business side, which was really his question. Grants is one thing, and deficits, but going to the bank and having good credit is also a thing. Okay, we can talk about a lot of other structures, but my thing is, it starts with you understanding your craft first and what it's there for, why you're given that ability. And if you decide you want to make a living from it, what did I say you have to do? Wear another hat. And the other hat is those two little books or programs. They got QuickBooks, they got all kinds of programs. You can just put your stuff in it and cumulatively figure out where you are and be able to look at it on a screen. If you don't have PayPal, get PayPal. You can do all your invoices in PayPal and it'll track everything you do. The same thing happens with Square and other payment portals. It made it easy now for you to be able to track your stuff. But if you don't make it a disciplinary move, you won't even use what's available to you. Then we can start talking about grants, residencies, and other places where you can get money. Because there are more opportunities available for you to make money now than ever before. You just have to be smart about doing it. And now, if you haven't embraced AI, I'm telling everybody in here, I don't care what you feel about AI. I don't care. I don't even want to hear it. If I saw how many faces frowned up, I don't care. Your ass is going to be left behind. If you're not sitting down right now trying to learn how AI works, then you will be left behind, because you can write a grant right now.
Exactly. That's why I said.
There are tools. I'm with you.
I said this, Poncho, because you mentored our daughter.
Mhm.
Okay, Milani and she, great artist, been doing wonderful things. And along with her working with the art, selling the art, and doing the things she did, when she got into fellowships and all that, she's winning all kinds of fellowships, and that's what is.
And the time now is that, like we just talked about a couple of different things. African American art has been on the rise for the last 4 decades. Okay, it's been going on an upward trajectory, because you didn't know it. So when you couple that with what's happening with women artists, what did the BMA do a couple of years ago? They said they were going to focus on promoting what? No,
I'm sorry.
Specifically, what did the BMA make a choice to start promoting more of? Black women artists and women artists. Of course, it happened in the year the COVID hit, but I'm just saying that the minds are changing. You see it happening as we speak. And so with that means there's a whole echelon of things you can participate in. See, I look at all those things as opportunities, really. And you got to be ready for each one of those opportunities because they're there. But if you haven't figured out your own self-worth, you're never going to get there. You know, I mean, but I am here as a testament that I haven't needed a break to do anything. I have always supplied and had my support and stayed close to the people who support me. How many of you have a mailing list? Raise your hand if you got a mailing list. Start telling me the numbers. Let the yellow out. How many people on your mailing list?
27.
27?
127.
27? 127? What you say? What's yours? Bring out something else. Who else got a mailing list? How many people's on it? 100? Go ahead. Who else got 100? Who else got it? I want to hear. Some people are quiet. Some people, their shoulders went down 40 because they don't want me to call them out. Who else got a mailing list in here? Please, I want to hear it. We all collective. Who? Listen, I'm giving you a chance to buy. How many? Say it again.
2,000.
All right. Who else? Kenya, how many you got? Okay. Now, I'm not saying it's to pick on nobody, but if you don't have a mailing list, you're proving to me you're not connected to your people. And I'm also going to say, for those of you that put out a number, if you don't have 2,500 names as a baseline, you're not even in the game. I keep a 10,000 list.
That's exactly.
And I purge it as much as I need to purge it. But I am what you call an email hoard. I don't want your address. I don't want your phone number. But I do want your email. The times are changing. That's how you form connectivity, is by keeping a list like that and keep it close. I just got an email from a sister last week who has a gallery. She made a mistake of putting all of her followers in a CC list. It was 450 names. Thank you very much for saying that. Because I don't have any kind of character that comes in. And I politely called her and said, please don't CC your list to everyone, but I will be using them. Thank you. So I want you to, we're laughing, but that's what you got to do. If you're not building a list right now, out of everything we talked about, you ain't even talking to me. The one thing you hear me talking about in this business is a relationship business, it's a lifelong relationship business, but it's a connectivity business, and y'all are not connecting. Period. If you got 100, then I'm like, wait a minute now. Most of y'all email accounts right now got 500 people that's been emailing you for the last 10 years.
700. He has so many more.
No, well, I'm glad he said 100 because that's all he believes he has. I didn't ask you what you believe you had. I asked you what you had. And then, if you don't have it in an email list on Word or Excel or in a MailChimp or Constant Contact, then you ain't gonna know how many you got. And then Kenya gave the most honest name. He ain't thought about it, He's been busy grinding. This man got a printing business. He prints for y'all. But he can't connect to y'all can't connect to him. You see what I'm saying? How different it would be if all the artists was using him for doing. He does G-clay work. He does color printing. He does everything. But y'all don't know him. He don't know y'all. That's how it works. My point is that y'all, we're going to network after we get done. But some of y'all wasting your networking. Passing your cards around to people. And what kind of people you sending them to? Well, what are you doing? And then if you don't have one, what is wrong with you? And sometimes when you're networking, what are you doing? How does it work? What are you supposed to be shooting for? Because you can still be networking and not even talking to them. You got to figure out who the gallerists are. You got to figure out who the curators are. You need to figure out who the artists are. You need to figure out who the collectors are. And all of them are treated differently. And if you got a show and they don't know what's happening with you, oh God, don't get me started. The biggest problem artists have right now, I'm going to say before she asks this next question, is that most of y'all don't have a website. I don't understand. Oh my God.
That was one of the questions.
I don't understand how you think in the 21st century that you can't have it. You don't think our website is important. I don't understand it. What is it me? Oh, you an artist. You got work, but you don't have a website. I see artists using Facebook pages as websites. I see artists using other people's websites, like Baker Awards as their website. Really? Website the cheapest thing you can buy on planet Earth. As an investment, that's nothing. He asked about business, but y'all don't want to spend no money. So how you gonna make some money? If you ain't gonna take the time to get what you need, y'all go to the art. Oh, this is the one. Oh, art supplies is so expensive. Strangle that person, please. Strangle him and beat him for me. Because where can you go into a store, buy a handful of supplies that's gonna last you 6 months and possibly make hundreds of thousands of dollars from that same supplies? What are we talking about? You go in the store and you buy cheap stuff, 2 for 3, 3 for whatever, and then when you're stuck on hold, you'll be wondering what's wrong. So we got all these things that I want to talk about that y'all making mistakes on. So it's easy to start getting to talking about business and structure. Thank you for that, because it's very, very important and a great question. Okay. But we got some household stuff that need to be done. And y'all ain't asking me the household stuff. No. Pricing is one of them. So thank you for that. But I asked you about the email list, and everybody went like this. Simultaneously, build the email list now. Going into your personal email list or whatever program you with, whether it be Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, and some of y'all still using AOL. I don't know how that works, but I'm in your business. What I'm saying to you is that there's 500 names sitting right there. All you got to do every night before you go to bed is dedicate yourself to an hour of taking those names and pasting them into Word or pasting them into Notepad or whatever's going to pick a place for you to put those things. Then you take those and upload them into a program like MailChimp. I use Constant Contact, write that one down because I know they work. I've been using them for 20 years. And when you upload those names, it will tell you immediately how many names you got. It'll tell you immediately which ones are no good. It'll also kick out duplication. So now you have a system. You get your names, you put them in the list. You get your names, you put them in the list. You guys still coming up? What's the first thing you do? Send an email. I got a show coming up. You got something that you get ready to sell? Hey, put it on email. Yeah, is that simple, y'all? Does it sound good? Because it is simple. It's that simple. It's the baseline of how artists are being successful. Y'all don't even know. Y'all think it's about the walls and the prices and the frames and the stuff. No. I can get a hold of 10,000 people in the phone. I can have a bad month and need a tank of gas and put a prayer on my page for enough gas and get the gas out of 10,000 names. Come on, y'all. Add your own storyline to that. Because these people are going to be whose people? Your people. Now, this got a 460 names, goes to a special category. I call it to nurture. And all the ones I need to nurture, I put them in there. And if they cancel me, I'm okay. How many of y'all are in your subscriptions in your email every day because people send you stuff? Do they care how many emails they send you? So y'all don't get mad when they send them to you. So why y'all don't have the same mentality? I don't care if you don't like my emails. How many of y'all get my emails? Raise your hands high, please. So what I'm doing is working whether y'all like me or not. Y'all don't even have to read it, but y'all get it. That's my point exactly. Y'all got to get in the race. Next question.
Camilla, did you want to?
Yeah, she has a question. I'm sorry.
Not related to
That's okay.
this.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about how Black artists who are born, raised, schooled, and working here can enhance their connection to the spirituality of African art, the spirituality that is African art.
I think that those two things are a distance because there's a distance between African and African American. And I think what happens is that everybody downgrades African American. Everybody has a wing in their museum that has African American. Okay, so it's a different philosophy altogether. I don't think artists need to be super concerned about that connection to Africa because some of y'all are connected, some of you are not. It's coming through your bloodline, whether you like it or not. I remind my people on a regular basis that we were the strongest of the strong to survive the Middle Passage. We have not the luxury to complain about it. We are the strongest bloodline that survived that journey. And so I tell artists, yeah, I want you to go there. I want you to see what your origin is. I want you to feel it. It's going to mean something different to everybody. But I went and it was amazing to me how calming it was for what I was doing. I saw the stuff my dad was doing as being self-taught in Africa.
Where did you go?
I went to Ghana. I went to Senegal. I went to South Africa. I've been to Kenya. But my point is, when you go, you see everything that we're doing. When you look at Picasso's work and they talk about all his different stages, they don't tell you that he was copying off of indigenous artworks. And so when you go, that looks like Picasso. You're an asshole because it doesn't look like Picasso. It looks like the indigenous people he stole from. And we see that misappropriation of culture all the time. But to answer your question, there's a line between the two. I think when they cross over is when magic happens. But I don't think it has to cross over. You just have to have a respect for your origin and know that it's not just about you. The self-taught people, get over yourself. You didn't come out the womb painting cosmos. They do it to separate themselves from everybody else and have separate lanes so people can give them a separate space. They don't realize that they're either elevating themselves or lowering themselves by saying that one statement. And when you say that means God wasn't present. That means you erase all the DNA stuff that's coming through you. Get over yourself. Stop tripping. There's nothing but ego and insecurity merged together. Don't say you're self-taught. Come up with another phrase. Because I don't have respect for you when you say it. Yes, ma'am.
Poncho,
Yes, ma'am.
those lovely little snippets on Facebook, YouTube. Thank you for that.
You're quite welcome. Well, thank you. Thank you. That came from the mouth of babes. My son came to me one day and said, "Dad, I want you to do a series like when you fussing at me." And I said,
Yes.
"What do you mean?" He says, "Well, you're always to the point. It's very transparent. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but it's always enriching. But I want you to do that for the people that buy your work." And so I said, "Okay, son, get your cameraman together and I'll let you direct it. I'm gonna get out the way." Remember I said if I get out the way, so I got out the way. He did a segment for me. If you look on YouTube, you'll find it called The Poncho Perspective. These were early snippets of what you see now as Poncho Knows. Except for he would pull out the subject. He was the person asking me the questions, and I would answer the questions just like I'm doing on Poncho Knows. Poncho Knows is everything I've ever said to my individual mentees. If I tell you I mentor hundreds of artists, if I say something to Tiffany, what I say to Tiffany is just for Tiffany. What I say to Deborah is just for Deborah. What I say to Linda is just for Linda. They're all different women doing different things at different phases of their life. That's how I do my mentorship. So when you see Poncho Knows, it's that thing that I've said to every other artist. So when you're looking at it, sometimes you're going to go, he was talking about me. He was talking about me. That's what I want. I want you to go, okay, yeah, that hit, that resonates. Or hey, I didn't think about that, you know. And then it's been well received, and I'm going to continue to do this.
Do you mind going back down your investment list? First, the things that we ought to be focusing on. You talked about the website, the mailing list, and I felt like there were some other action items you wanted us to begin to think about.
I could sit here and tell you 20 things. You're not going to follow them all. You're going to get overwhelmed. Right, the first two that I said. The website and the email list are the most important things you need to do today. The spreadsheet is third. Okay, that you do that, you got a running start if you do that. Ooh, all right. They say you can tell a lot about the rest of myself. That's a party thing right there.
I have, it's time, but I just want to, can I just close out with one more question?
Sure.
Okay. So basically, if you could summarize the responsibilities of the artist and the responsibilities of the gallery.
Okay. The responsibilities of the artist: be true to your work. Be true to your vision. Stop copying everything you see around you. There's a likeness thing happening there because y'all being influenced by each other. And where I used to be, I used to go someplace to get inspired and do an imitation stage and involved to who I am. Y'all doing it amongst each other, packaging and getting on Facebook and making it look like it's yours and it's sending the wrong message. And it's derailing you in a way. It's not going to make you grow. So you have a responsibility to be true to your work and to do enough work to get your therapy, y'all. I'm going to start with the therapy first because I talked about depression and who we are. So please up your therapy. Up your therapy. I'm not demonizing medicine. I'm not demonizing depression because it comes in different phases. But I'm speaking the language, y'all. If you're not doing that, we're not really having a discussion. You know, when you do 20 paintings, 30 paintings, your mind, your spirit's free. When you do 2, you're overthinking everything, and depression is going like this. So do your work. You can't even compete in the open market if you don't. I asked artists how many pieces they did last year. They tell me 12. I say, well, what other business can you do 1 piece a year and survive? Maybe you need to go work. So that's the artist's responsibility. The dealer's responsibility is to understand that without artists, you are dead. It's a consignment-based business, which means they're sometimes bringing you hundreds of thousands of pieces that you don't have to buy. And I can guarantee you, if I looked at your books, you haven't bought a piece to resell in many, many years. So if you respect and honor what artists are giving you, then that relationship is tight and nobody can get in the way of that relationship. I think at that point, we all grow. It's when we get caught up in the different fragments of what the art business is doing that these relationships are lifelong relationships. I'm watching the resurgence of galleries now. When I was coming through that period, I told you the golden age of African-American art, there was literally 3,000 galleries buying African-American art. And that dropped down way below 50 in a matter of a couple of years. And now we're watching more community galleries coming back up and people getting back into the business. They're changing their format and more artists being enveloped in this. They have opportunities that more wall spaces are developed. You know, there's a calm now with it that wasn't before. We have to maximize it. I want people to get out of being distracted. So the gallery has a role to not just continue to show you. They get to expand your reach. It's a partnership. So you can't do it by yourself. They can't do what they do without you. It's like this. I see galleries that think they're better than the artists. And I see artists sometimes doing something crazy where they only understand where they are. And it should be right here. And the same thing with curators. Curators need to have a sensitivity to the artist and the artist process. Curators need to learn more about what it is to sell art because I'm watching a lot of curators doing shows now, and they're not looking at the stream of income that some curators can make doing shows. Now, they're there to teach you and show you exhibitions, but they're not realizing now that it's just like artists are wearing multiple hats. Now curators are wearing multiple hats. Now gallerists are wearing multiple hats. And so there's more space for us to kind of align now in a way that we never did before, because before we were all viewed as arch enemies. Now it's like a movement. And if y'all can understand that it's a powerful movement taking place right now that we may not see again in this lifetime. And if we maximize it, everybody's going to get more. It's a powerful time to be an artist despite how you feel and despite how things look out there. We have a role to document our history and to tell our stories. And now that's what we're able to do. Now, I couldn't sell a socially conscious piece when I was coming through that period of time I told you about. But now I could do a socially conscious piece. And guess what? The young ones are already doing it. That's what they do. The language is shifted. But we got to get out of each other's heads. We got to work harder. We have to be more serious. But we also just need to take time and thank the creator for this ability and this interest. And I tell artists, stop talking, work, and thank God by every creation. Because the rest is white noise. And it's not going to get you any closer to where you want to go. We all have a desire to be validated by our community. But we can't do it if we're selfishly wired, and artists are the most selfishly wired people. And now they're becoming more socially, it's just The selfishness is on another level. And I think society is creating some of that. If you're not working with another artist, something's wrong with you. Have you ever taken the time to go to another artist that's in your circle's exhibition when they do that? Something's wrong with you. If you're not sharing what you learn with another artist, something's wrong with you. If you don't have a student that's loading your van, helping you stick your price tags on, you show them a little technique, show them how to frame, then something's wrong with you. You hear what I'm saying? We are all selfishly shooting for something, not realizing the community-based thing. And that's the biggest shift that has to happen. The creative circle, as I wrap up, is this half. That's when you're in your studio doing your work and you're creating and you start, okay, I like this. I'm doing this. I'm getting my therapist things going good. Hey, I make a few dollars here and there. But that's the selfish half of the circle, right? This half right here is when you release it to your community. When you sell it to your community. When the community gets to do something with it. And when you got that circle, what happens is your creativity keeps getting recharged. You release pieces, you do new pieces, you grow. When you leave this right here, it's stagnate your growth. This is when depression kicks. When you do this right here, you can probably dump all your pills with. It's a different world. Realize the seriousness of what we're doing. Have fun, because I'm having fun. All I'm doing is telling y'all the truth. And I think the more we hold into the truth and work better with each other, the better they are.
Listen, I'm gonna give Poncho a round of applause. I also want to mention a couple of things. Writing down Poncho's perspective books, and you have the crowdfunding.
Yeah, we have the crowdfunding book. We have the calendar for 2026, and I have my 40th anniversary book.
And I also want to mention that the artist Ivasto is here. And
where's Erasto? He's on the steps right there.
He's on the
Why
steps.
not go get up
And
there,
this is his
man?
work.
This right here is a collaboration with me.
Oh,
Yeah, we did a whole series of pieces together last year. He gave us some pieces 2 years ago, and the man thought about Poncho ain't gonna never touch those things. And so every January I do a creative quarantine where I lock myself in my studio and work the whole month. And I pulled his pieces out this year, so I'm glad to see that it's not there.
And please visit the second floor where we have Dad's work. That's when we can. So please do that. And thank you again. Please network. And those of you that ever get these to Poncho, some of the questions that we haven't gotten
Please
to.
do. It'll be a new episode of Poncho.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah. Let's get.
Okay.
This is so beautiful.